Jesus was a healer. And we, therefore, as those who are seeking to do Christ's work in the world, are called to be healers. This is why so many Christians become doctors and nurses and other health professionals, and why so many hospitals were and are started by churches. In the Gospels, we hear one story after another of compassionate healing. And today's Gospel lesson holds not one, but two of such stories. It is nothing less than lovely for me to think of healing for a woman who has been sick and suffering for many years, and who has spent everything she has on doctors and treatments, none of which have worked, and is desperate to be restored to health again. She is healed immediately upon touching Jesus' clothes. And it is heartwarming to read of a 12-year-old girl instantly brought back to life from the brink of death. These are two beautiful stories. I have to admit, however, that these are also challenging stories. Challenging because most of the time, when we witness, or better yet, when we experience the gift and the miracle of healing, it is a slow process. There is nothing instantaneous or immediate about most healing. Furthermore, we are not always blessed with the healing we want. There is much to explore and to ponder in these two stories, starting with the notion that if you only believe well enough and hard enough, you will get direct divine healing. There is an idea floating out there in virtually every religious tradition, every spiritual tradition, that if only you have enough faith, you may be healed of every disease. And you may be. I have witnessed miraculous healing, but I also know from what is now a wealth of pastoral experience that the healing God offers is not always the healing we are hoping for or expecting. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. I know there are times when the stillness of a sickbed provides opportunities for healing that are unexpected. And I know that even death may be a form of healing. The point here and the truth is that you can pour yourself completely into healing with mountains of trust in God and all the best doctors and still not get what you were praying for. Disease is part of God's creation. Suffering is built into God's creation, and death is certainly a dependable feature of God's creation. Again, that doesn't mean we resign ourselves to sickness or suffering. Healing, comfort, and resilience are also important parts of God's creation and important parts of our very souls. Furthermore, it is clear in these two stories that God blesses initiative. The esteemed leader of the synagogue humbles himself before Jesus, pleading for his daughter's life. He actively seeks healing for his little girl. The woman, who has been frighteningly sick for 12 years, pushes herself through the crowd in order to touch Jesus. She takes brave initiative, again, actively seeking healing. Faith is powerful. Faith vigorously seeks healing. Wisdom is doing everything in your power to be well again, but leaving the rest to God, with the understanding that you may or may not get the healing you're looking for. I want to jump down now into a deeper healing that is at work in this story. Jairus, the man who begged Jesus to heal his beloved daughter, was, as you heard, a leader in the synagogue. The leaders in the synagogue had already made Jesus what? An enemy. He was their enemy. They were acutely threatened by his teachings and by his charismatic connection to the people. Jesus and Jairus were on opposing teams, if you will. What if when someone suggested to Jairus that Jesus might be able to help his little girl, Jairus had said, "I'm never turning to that sinner-loving, rule-breaking blasphemer"? These are, of course, some of the things the temple leaders called Jesus. And what if Jesus had said, "Are you kidding me? You want my help? You viper, you blind guide, you hypocrite"? Jesus did refer to the religious leaders of his time with those very words. Thankfully, that is not what happened. Just the opposite. Jairus did not hesitate to lower himself before Jesus, to offer his cheek for a blow, as we read in Lamentations. In the face of his daughter's grave illness, party affiliation and power struggles no longer mattered. Jairus might not agree with Jesus' politics or his theology, but in seeking healing for his daughter, none of that mattered. Jairus was willing to set aside all animosity, all partisanship, all sense of superiority for the sake of his little girl. Perhaps then, this story provides a template for the nation as it continues to writhe in partisan pain and sickness. What animosities and incivilities are we willing to set aside for the sake of the nation? What tribal tauntings and partisan behaviors are we willing to let go for the sake of our country, which is this week celebrating its 242nd birthday? In this deeper and very real healing of relationships that is very much a part of this story and would have meant a great deal to Jesus' listeners, the first listeners of the Gospel according to Mark, wisdom is found in knowing when to speak up and when to listen, when to be firm and when it is essential to be humble. Perhaps most significantly, wisdom is to be found in knowing what is most important. The health of a child, for instance, or the health of a nation, and setting all else aside to focus on what is most needed. As we approach another 4th of July and as we gather around Christ's table this morning, let us feel the oneness, let us feel the healing that God intends for us all. Amen.